How's it going, everybody? It is Monday, November 4th. Ooh. So Google had like the 4th of July symbolism on there. And I don't know how to explain it. Oh, I know how. So we're in the 11th month. So anything above 7, you subtract 6. So for in month 11, you subtract 6. So that brings it to month 5, I think, on the Jewish calendar. But on the Jewish calendar, month 5, July. July is the 5th month, or July means 5. But on our calendar, Gregorian calendar, we look at as the 5th month is May, and the 7th month, right, as July. But since you take anything above 7, so 7, you take away 6, and you take away 6 from 11, so that brings it to 5. So when you're looking at the month 11, it's actually representing the month 11, but it's also representing the month of July. So when you think today's the 4th, it's July 4th. So the red, white, and blue banners and stuff are actually representing July 4th. And it also, the month Cheshvan is actually started November 2nd. Cheshvan means 8, the 8th month on the Jewish calendar, and it's on the listicle calendar, it's the 2nd month, so it's also representing February. So then, the day the music died, some guy on February 3rd got in a plane crash. He was a famous singer. The day the music died. So, and then we're looking at today as the 4th of July. Plus, we're looking at the day before election. So that's why nobody knows the day or the time, because we are not taught in church or anywhere else we're taught to look at our calendar, right? The Gregorian calendar. We don't look at the Julian calendar. We don't look at the Hebrew calendar. We don't look at the biblical calendar like they do in the 1% of the world stage that does all these things. So again, that just goes back to saying, when people always say, because it's written in the book, nobody knows the day or the time. But we have a pretty good idea if we knew that we are looking at all these the biblical calendar or the Torah calendar. If we're looking at the Hebrew calendar, the listicle calendar up above, and the Gregorian and the Julian calendar, they're all playing off all these calendars, and the people don't know it. And that's what I think. Another thing about this ending to a new beginning is Jesus also told us that many will prophesy in my name. So a lot of information will come out at the end. But anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there. But it's been raining, and Cheshvan also represents bitter. So bitter means bitter and cold. And believe me, it's been cold since at least last Saturday, and rainy, constantly rainy, lots of water. I have a not a 5 gallon bucket, probably about a 3.5 gallon bucket I had on the patio. That thing's full of water already. I was like, oh my gosh. It did rain a lot. Of course, I was hearing it. I mean, it was coming down really hard and fast. It woke me up in the middle of the night because it was hitting my bedroom sliding glass door. I was like, what the heck is that noise? And I open up my eyes from bed, and I'm looking. I can just see it hitting my glass window. I'm like, whoa, it's storming. Wind was blowing. And plus, we're in the Day of the Dead. And then the 3 days of the trumpet blowing, they were showing that about Trump, all these headlines to the weekend. Um, Something about they're making comments like uh, Trump blowing the Trump, Trump's making oral sex acts or something like that on stage. It's so weird how they're saying all this stuff. But again, on the Feast of Trumpets, for 3 days they celebrate, and then the fourth day or the third day they go to war, which is kind of interesting because they're trying to provoke this war, within within the people. And then November 5th, so they also have started jacking up the military in Washington, Oregon. I think it was Washington, Oregon, and Nevada. I think that's what they said. I don't know, maybe it was California. I don't remember seeing California on there. But for civil unrest, and then they were naming off a few places on the East Coast too as well for civil unrest. Like Washington, they have, of course, they started demonstrating, doing drills last October, or just this last week. They were doing big headlines, and they were showing these helicopters and all this military. And they're putting fences up around the Capitol, blocking it off. So I think they're planning on something. Of course, a lot of us can see it if you can just understand the calendars. And believe me, I probably would have known a lot more stuff if I would have figured out these calendars years ago. But of course, everything comes at the right time. Just like this guy was just figuring out, and now other people are catching on to what he's saying, and now they're looking at it too, just like me. So is when we don't know, how are we going to know something if we don't, that's why I was saying we don't cut off anybody. We at least let them talk, even though we don't understand it, and then try to figure it out instead of just blocking people off and going, no, that's not it. It says this in the scripture, and then here, of course it does say that, but if you're using that script with a different calendar and not all the calendars, then you're not going to figure out the day or the hour. So that's another thing I think Pac was saying too. That's the guy's name. If you, it's kind of like you're being a false prophet. And that's why a lot of things, I think a lot of people put out these prophecies is stuff like that, but they're not looking at the calendars. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. The sun's coming out right now. The sun's up. There's a break in the clouds, so I figured I'd come out because it's just been raining all day today. But it's about 2:30. Oh, wait a minute, 2:45. Just the kids are already out of school. And I'm not going to be out very long because the neighbor kids, they're just their mom works. She works now, so and then the father takes off from work, a break from work. He comes home, he swings by the school, picks up the 3 young kids, and they gets them settled into the apartment. Then he leaves and goes back to work. But I know the neighbor, she's next to him, right? And she's got a kid too, so I'm sure she's going to be on the alert. But I don't know, it just makes me feel that I need to be, even though I'm just down in the other apartment, to be an eye out for them. I mean, because there's just a lot of crazies out there. Until he gets home. He gets home about 4. And then that's when they're very youngest. The bus stops about 4:30, drops them off at the apartment complex. But I just, think that we all need to be there for each other. That's another thing too, is when it gets down to, the nitty-gritty of everything, put all your differences aside, just take care of each other no matter what. Just like they were saying, the Amish had traveled over to all these places that got wrecked by their floods, and they're building up all these small houses for them. And I see a photo of that, and they're just how they can build a house super fast too. So And a lot of people are like surprised. They're like, the Amish are over here helping build these houses. But it's one of those things to where all that stuff goes away when we're all human. We got to take care of each other. And I think that's another thing that's supposed to be bringing us together, is by looking at all this. Yep. Woo. Okay, I'm going to get off here so I can just sit here and bake in the sun for a little bit. Even though it's still cold outside, I'm in my truck. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching my videos and checking out my cool images that are coming out of my face.